3 weeks after the old pianist died, his piano began playing itself in an empty house. Milo Grant was the only person who still had a key to that house. He worked as a piano tuner, quiet and unsure of his own talent. His grandfather had been a famous concert pianist named Milo Grant. Milo had spent his childhood sitting under that same grand piano, listening. He always wanted to play like his grandfather, but never believed he could. After Edmund's funeral, Milo was asked to maintain the old family estate. He hadn't stepped inside the music room since the day of the funeral. That evening, a neighbor called to report piano music coming from the empty house. Milo assured her it had to be a mistake, since no one lived there anymore. Still, something about her voice made his hands go cold. He drove to the estate that night, telling himself it was nothing. The porch light flickered as he unlocked the heavy front door. Inside, the house was exactly as silent and dark as he expected. Then, faintly, a melody drifted down the hallway toward him. His grandfather's grand piano was playing itself in the music room. Milo froze in the doorway, refusing to step any closer. No wires, no motors, no visible mechanism moved the piano keys. Yet each key pressed itself down and rose again, perfectly timed. The melody was unfamiliar, gentle, and strangely unfinished. Milo forced himself to walk toward the piano bench. He touched the keys just as the music abruptly stopped. The room fell completely silent, as if it had been listening back. He convinced himself exhaustion had made him imagine the entire thing. The next morning, he returned to check the piano in daylight. Nothing seemed unusual, except one thing troubled him deeply. There was fresh dust missing exactly where fingers would rest on the keys. He decided to spend the night in the music room to be certain. Just after midnight, the piano began playing again on its own. This time, Milo recorded the sound on his phone with trembling hands. The melody continued for nearly 3 full minutes without repeating once. It sounded like something being composed in real time, not remembered. Milo searched every inch of the piano for hidden speakers or wires. He found nothing that could explain what he had just witnessed. The next day, he brought the recording to his old music teacher. She listened closely, then asked where he had found such a piece. She said it sounded like nothing she had ever heard before. Milo admitted he had recorded it from his grandfather's empty house. His teacher's smile faded, replaced by a look of quiet unease. She told him some old pianos had player mechanisms hidden inside them. Milo returned home determined to search the piano from top to bottom. Late that night, he pulled up the bench and searched underneath it. Hidden beneath a false wooden panel, he found a small brass mechanism. Beside it sat a stack of thin perforated paper rolls, neatly labeled. Each roll was dated, some going back over 40 years. Milo realized his grandfather had secretly recorded music onto these rolls. The piano wasn't haunted. It was simply finally playing what it held. He fed the newest roll into the small mechanism and pressed a lever. The same unfinished melody from the night before began playing again. Milo sat completely still, listening to his grandfather's final composition. Near the roll's edge, he noticed something carved lightly into the paper. It was a single word, barely visible, that read simply, Milo. His hands began to shake as the melody continued around his name. He searched through every other roll, reading each carved label carefully. Some were labeled with concert names, others with dates and cities. One roll near the bottom was labeled for the day he stops doubting. Milo's throat tightened as he lifted that particular roll with care. He hesitated for a long moment before finally loading it into place. The piano began playing a piece unlike anything he had heard before. It was warmer, simpler, clearly written for a beginner's untrained hands. Milo suddenly recognized fragments of a lullaby from his own childhood. His grandfather had woven it gently into this new, unfinished piece. Tears blurred his vision as the melody swelled toward its middle section. He remembered evenings sitting beside his grandfather on that very bench. Edmund used to say music wasn't about talent, only about honesty. Milo had never believed he had anything honest enough to play. The recording paused suddenly, right in the middle of an unfinished phrase. Confused, Milo checked the roll and realized the paper simply ran out. His grandfather had died before finishing this final composition completely. Milo stared at the keys, realizing the ending was left entirely blank. A small note was tucked beside the roll, folded and slightly yellowed. His grandfather's handwriting shakily read, "Finish it however feels true to you." Milo's breath caught as the weight of the words settled over him. He had spent his whole life believing he could never fill those shoes. Now his grandfather was asking him to write his own ending instead. Milo sat at the bench, placing his fingers gently over the keys. For a long moment, he simply breathed, afraid to make the first sound. Slowly, hesitantly, He began playing a few uncertain notes of his own. The notes were simple, imperfect, but entirely, unmistakably his. He let the melody wander somewhere quiet and thoughtful and new. For the first time, playing didn't feel like living up to someone else. It felt like continuing a conversation that had never really ended. Milo finished the piece with a soft, warm chord that lingered in the air. Outside, the morning light spilled gently through the music room windows. He carefully cut a new paper roll and labeled it with today's date. Beside the title, he carved a single word of his own: continued. Somewhere in that quiet house, the piano finally felt like it was his.